Hello, everybody. We have a few more minutes we're going to give before we get started. We have quite a few people who are still joining us. So if everybody will just hang tight for a little bit, we'll get started in just a few minutes. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm just monitoring the chat here. It's a very friendly group. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started now. It's a little bit after 10 and we have about 44 people on our call today. And we are expecting a few more to join us, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So good morning and welcome to our webinar learning series. I'm Susan Russell, the Executive Director for Keep Louisiana Beautiful. And this webinar learning series has been underwritten by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana. So we want to thank them for their support. Before we get started, let's go over a few pieces of business. And so in the chat, please feel free throughout the webinar to ask questions. Cabell and I will be monitoring the chat. We'll answer those questions that we can. And then as time permits, we are going to throw the questions over to our presenter for her to answer and elaborate on more. So please let us know where you are from. Y'all doing a great job so far. We have people from Bossier all the way to Lacombe. We have folks from Oshna, from rec centers, from municipalities, from private businesses, top ladies of distinction. So some wonderful organizations are joining us today, and we're excited to bring this to you. So let's kick this off. As y'all know, the webinar today is called Know Your Trash: How and Why You Should Conduct a Waste Audit. And it is presented today by Linda Bayham. She is the Director of Sustainability and Corporate Social Responsibility for the New Orleans Ernest N. Memorial Convention Center. She establishes and implements company-wide sustainability and corporate responsibility goals. Linda has more than 20 years of experience in environmental, energy, and utility sectors. She holds an MBA in finance from Tulane University, an MS in energy policy from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and a BA in physics from Colorado University. She is an LEED accredited professional and is certified energy management. She has experience in prestigious state and national organizations, such as the White House Office of Environmental Policy, the Louisiana State Governor's Office of Coastal Activities, and the Louisiana chapter of U.S. Green Building Council. We are thrilled to have her join us today, and let's make great use out of the next hour. It's all about us coming together, learning, sharing experiences so that we can take that knowledge and bring it to our communities and to really have a greater impact on our local communities and on Louisiana. So Linda, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to let you take it over.
Okay, sounds good. Let me just make sure I can open the first part of the presentation, and then I will get started. I'll introduce myself. Okay, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today to talk trash. I love talking trash, and I'm super excited about doing this talk with you all today. And also Keep Louisiana Beautiful, I think, is such a great organization. I went to the first conference a couple of months ago. It was actually my first conference in a very long time in Baton Rouge, and there was just such a great group of people and great energy. So I'm really happy to be partnering with KLB and Susan to reach out to you all about trash, but also just to be working with you all as an organization is really great. I'm just looking at what my audience is today. It looks like we have a lot of schools, universities, colleges, and some cities, municipalities, which I understand is a big part of the Keep Louisiana Beautiful program. So I'm going to try and just make sure that I'm talking about the right kinds of things that you all are interested in. So please do ask questions along the way. And I'll be aware of what you're most interested in talking about today when we are talking trash. So just so you know, I am the Director of Sustainability and Corporate Social Responsibility for the Convention Center. And we have been working quite a bit on improving what we're doing with trash, which is recycling, composting, donations, cardboard pallets. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I hope I have a very interested audience because it is a lot of, you really got to be into garbage to enjoy this talk, but I'm hoping that we'll have some good questions and good interaction. So this is just the beginning. This is what we did with I'm talking about waste audit, but I'm also going to talk about our waste infrastructure today too. So this was our waste audit. This is a first photo that we have of it today. And this is where we did a one-day waste audit to really look at what was going on with all of our trash in the building. And so the agenda today is I'm going to give you a little background on what we're doing at the facility and also the systems we have in place that we're trying to improve on. Then about the waste audit, what it is, why do you do it, how do you do it, what does it mean to you? Other fun stuff that Susan wanted me to include, but also I realize is really the backbone of what you do. And to do a waste audit, you have to have a lot of this in place if you can. And also just ideas, if you don't have much that you're doing already, what you can do to get started. And also do it yourself waste audits. So we worked with a great contractor and consultant on this, but also you can do a lot of what I call mini waste audits in order to improve your waste streams. Okay. So who we are the Convention Center down right along the river in downtown New Orleans. We're the 6th largest convention center in the US. We have about 3 million square feet, so we're one of the largest buildings in the state. We get almost 1 million visitors per year, which is one of the challenges we have with our programs is we have 750,000 ideas about how to recycle in our building throughout the year. Just so you know, right now we had fewer shows last year, but we're about 90% of the regular attendance of 2019 in 2022. So the events are coming back. We're going to be going full steam ahead starting in 2022. And we've had a couple major events this year that we were able to do a lot of pilots at. The other thing is we have a major commitment to sustainability, which has been really great to be working there on. So a few of the things that we're doing, just for the whole background, is we're doing, first of all, LEED certification, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. We expect that to take about a year, but that really does track and document how we're improving our energy, water, and waste streams. So what we're doing on water is we have all new restrooms and bottle filling stations. So when you go to the airport now, you got your bottle filling stations, but when you come to the convention center, you see them. They're very cool. We have done major energy upgrades. So all the light fixtures in the exhibit halls, that's 1 million square feet alone. It's the size of 5 Walmarts. And that's going to be one of the largest energy upgrades in the whole state ever when we have that completed. And we're expecting to reduce our energy use by 15 to 20%. And we also have redone the whole front of the building and taken 4 lanes of traffic and made them 2, and added a new linear pedestrian park with 200 trees, lots of greening. We have rain gardens. And also we are hosting Luna Fete for this year. It's an outdoor kind of light concert festival in December, and it's going to be all along our pedestrian park. So if you're in New Orleans, please come check it out. So to start with, any waste audit needs to be on any kind of waste. You can also do a waste audit on just garbage to see what your potential is for doing more recycling. But we do have programs in place, so I'm just going to talk about that quickly. We have in the upper left here, we have recycling for attendees and staff, but we also have recycling for contractors and events, the contractors that come in. We do cardboard, pallets, metal. We also compost. It's a lot of pilot stage still, but the kitchen has been doing composting for years. And we also are doing a lot of experimentation and pilots with front of house composting, which a lot of that means what your servingware is that you have available for being able to compost. And that we're doing very much in partnership with our food and beverage partner, Centerplate, who's been an awesome partner on sustainability. And they've taken a lot of initiatives. They have some great programs, especially a food donation program. And then our composting vendor is Schmelly's Dirt Farm. And that's a local New Orleans company. We also sort in the back of house. So this is one way we deal with contamination. I'll get into that a little more later and describe how that works. And this is really key here. We're getting really trashy right now, but this is what our diversion rate was for 2019. And I have to say, one of the very first things I did when I started this job was I got all the data, because you got to start to do it, to build out a program and to understand where you are, you have to look at the data. And this diversion rate is a really key number to our recycling program. So this is basically everything we're diverting from the landfill. We had a 15% diversion rate in 2019. Our goal is about 40%. And diversion, and it's an equation, you take everything you've diverted over everything, and it goes to the landfill and everything you've recycled. So I have a quick question. Anybody know why, if you're diverting and recycling, why does that still go into your total waste number? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Why would recycling still go into your waste numbers? Can anybody put that in the chat? And I can't see the chat right now, just so you know.
Nobody's answering, Linda, so take it away.
Maybe it was too confusing, and also we'll start at the beginning. Okay.
Okay, we have someone, because they say it's still waste, even though it's being recycled. And someone else comments, because although it's recycled, it's still created on your campus because it needs to leave the building. It's not reused. So those are the 3 comments made.
Okay, those are great. Yes. So basically, it's still something like a plastic bottle, you're recycling it. And that's a high value item for recycling, but it still has to be collected, transported, and then go to another manufacturing facility. But it still is using a lot of energy and resources. The best thing to do is to reduce in the first place. So just so you know, this is part of kind of what we're doing with the true waste training that I'll talk a little bit about. But the more you can do the reduce, reuse, recycle, like so with pallets, those are reused. So that's a pretty higher use. But that's what the diversion rate, and kind of on a technical reason, includes everything that's still waste, that's still recycle. So our diversion rate, and this did confuse me at the very beginning, but our diversion rate then is all these items here that are being diverted over our total waste stream. So you can see that where we're doing well, single stream, this is by weight, but single stream is not our biggest. So cans, bottles, and paper is not the biggest. Cardboard is a lot. Pallets are good. Metal we love because we get a lot of money for metal. Composting was a big number. And then our food and beverage partners donate food. So I guess that's actually it's not reuse. That's trying to do reductions, but they have actually reductions in their kitchens to not serve as much food, which is food reducing. And then we also have donations by the clients and exhibit halls directly to like Second Harvest or to Habitat for Humanity. We include all those numbers when we can get weights.
So
Okay.
Linda, I have a question. This is Susan. What is the difference between the food donations from the Second Harvest and those by your vendors? Can you
So
explain that a little bit?
yeah, it's really cool. And actually one of the first things I'm doing with this next event is getting better pictures of that. So you can see these top left pictures. So center plate, when they have food that's been cooked but not served, they can let it cool and they can donate it. So they donate to an organization called Bethel Colony, which is a center in New Orleans, and they take it and feed their attendees and their participants in their programs. And then if there's a lot, like if we have a 20,000 person event with food that didn't get consumed, they can give it to other partners. So it's a really actually a very innovative program. But that because there's laws that allow for that to happen. And we use our containers, you can see here. So we don't put them into takeout containers and create more waste. We give them our containers, they clean them and bring them back. So it's this cycle of donation. The other donations are done directly by the clients and actually with New Orleans and Company. And this is non-perishable items. So they can be put in trucks basically. And on the left here, we had like what they do is they put stickers on if they're gonna be donated. On the left here was a K-Hay food show, and they had a lot of processed and packaged food. And they were okay, they shipped it there, but then whatever they had left over, they didn't want to ship back. So they donated it locally. And same with True Value. They donated almost the whole show floor. And that was samples from exhibitors. They got several truckloads that went to Habitat for Humanity.
Thank you.
Yeah. We love those programs. We don't manage those directly, but I think that there's a really great opportunity with those. And let's see. Okay. And I'm going to pause at the end of this part for questions from the group, but I'm going to go now into the waste audit. So we did do an audit. So that's all those different systems we have. We did do a waste audit that was mostly on, it was really on the event, and the kitchen was involved in that too, because it was part of the event. But so we did like a part of what we're doing in the building for a waste audit. So we basically, as you can see here, we dug through the trash. So it happened to be that the bags that we picked, you can see these are white bags. We do a 3-bag color system. So this was garbage that we were digging through. You can see right here at the top, we have our chef from our food and beverage partner, Chef Brandon, and the head, our general manager, Lisa Trainer here, Adrian Sanchez, who's one of our true waste advisors. We're digging through the trash. We're looking at what the top right photo, what can and can't be recycled. We literally had to have reading glasses to read the number on the bottom. That's some of the garbage, and then this is a setup, and I'll go into this in more detail. So a waste audit is basically seeing what trash you have in your recycling or composting or diversion streams, and seeing what opportunities you have in what recycling you have in your trash waste streams. So how you could improve the program. So it's looking at those two different things, and it's looking at it in a very systematic way, very organized fashion with weights and percentages. And conclusions by the consultant who worked for us on this. We did this on Friday, October 1st. It's a 24-hour time frame, but we did the polls from across the event around 2 o'clock that day because we wanted to make sure we captured enough work that had been done in the kitchen, people eating and drinking coffee. This was the Specialty Coffee Association event. They had composting all over the building for this event, which is unusual, and they also were drinking coffee everywhere. The consultant that we have for our lead certification is SIG, Sustainable Investment Group. They're out of Atlanta, but they have a local partner, Daniel Dreyer, who's on this call, of Sustainable Handprints. And so he was part of the audit. And they did this audit because by doing it to certain lead standards, we're able to use this diversion rate that we got from this for our lead certification and for points for the lead certification. So it was kind of built up into this whole thing. But we did literally the week before, we had all this set up. I have to say, it took months to get everything set up to do the lead project. They suggested the waste audit like in August. We knew this event was coming in September. Then we got hit by a hurricane. So it all came together pretty quickly. And literally the week before, I was like, let's have a trash team. So we did, I really thought it was a great opportunity for my philosophy is the more people that can learn about what we're doing, the more we can share it, the better we can get feedback, and also other people will know, and we'll all improve our trash programs. So we did have a great group that worked on this, that sorted through the trash for about just just one part of the waste stream. The goals of the audit were to get data to improve our programs, to know what our potential is, to get lead points, and then also to engage staff. So first, the setup. We did do a 3-bin system throughout this event. So it was landfill, composting, and recycling, and everything was color coded, including the bags, to make it easy to get the trash to the trash area and to get the recycling and composting to other areas. For the audit, we did pull all the bags for in these different areas. So this was exhibit hall, what we were doing. This was in the meeting rooms. There's a lot of coffee grinds that were included in the audit. And then throughout the building, we had the 3-bin system. And this is what it looks like in the back of house. We're getting really trashy now. So the top left was garbage, the middle was composting, the right was recycling, and then we did have sorting so that everything was going in the right place. Just so you know, I'm hoping to do a few sustainability tours in the spring, and I would love for people to come see how this works in the building. We don't always have all these bins out, but that is something that I can definitely share with you, Susan, when we get in your mailing list, when we do those tours in the future. But it's very interesting to see what the operations look like for a big facility like this. And I understand there's a lot of universities, you probably have similar sets of containers. Maybe we have not just one cardboard baling compactor, we have 6 of them. So, but they're also like almost a mile apart. So that's the kind of situation we have in our back of house. What we did then is we used tilt carts, and we labeled them for different areas of the building. So meeting room, exhibit hall, and we collected the 3-bag system in these tilt carts. And then we sorted them all. So what we were looking for, and you can see these boxes here that, and you can barely see how they're labeled, but what we did is we sorted them and then did weighing by these different waste streams. So plastics 1 and 2, and normally I don't talk about the plastic number, but for this audience, it's really important to know that 1 and 2 are like the plastic cups that you can recycle, and everything else you cannot. So we actually use compostable cups. So those would go in a composting waste stream. That's number 7. But a part of a sort is really important to see, and an audit like this is to see there was a lot of different varieties of plastics in the building. So that's one thing that's important to know about. It's based on what our local recycling vendor, CW Recycling, can take. And it basically, I think it's the same across Louisiana. We then looked at aluminum. We tracked for aluminum, paper, organics, which is compostables, including servingware, cardboard, and then true waste is what's truly is garbage. And you can see this is the setup here, and we would then put it into these containers. And then they were weighed. So this was a little scale that was used. I use a luggage scale. You can get those like at Marshall's, maybe online, but if it's up to like 50 pounds, you can do, but this is a different scale that was used. And this is what we got totals. So interestingly, the weights were for what you think of typical recyclings were not that much. Organics was a lot because we included the kitchen, and we had composting across the building, and then we had true waste. So we had about 800 pounds of trash that our consultants, thank you, Daniel, went through that day and sorted by it was by area of building, by the 3 different bin systems, and then by all these different categories. So it was a lot of different data sets. And this is what we came up with. The diversion rate for this event, for that day, for that time period, was 52%. Our potential is higher. I'm kind of realizing as I go through this, that's like if everybody is perfect every single time, but it was a good number to know. Our contamination rate, though, was pretty high. And contamination is basically, you'll probably know this, but for recycling, you can be, if you're less than 20% contamination, that's what a facility will take. We try to get lower than that because we do sort. And then for composting, it needs to be even lower because that's the compost that literally goes right into the soil. So we need to make sure it's as clean as possible. But contamination also can mean, when you're looking at the trash, contamination is actually opportunities. So it's so this is kind of some of these numbers don't necessarily add up exactly. It's really kind of the conclusions we can draw. So this is what we had. This is by location. And I'm going to check in with you all in a minute to make sure this is making sense. So this is where it was in the building. The blue is a diversion rate by area, and this is the total waste percentage. So the expo hall, our diversion rate was about 29%. The kitchen was very high because it included this people who work in the kitchen actually have small containers. They put in food waste as they're doing food prep, and then they put it into the bins, and it goes directly. So it's like there's nobody walking around with a cup there. I mean, definitely gets contaminated, but it's very, just very true compost, very good opportunity. The meeting rooms and the lobby were kind of similar in that there was kind of a lot going on there. And also the lobby has outdoor, people bringing stuff from the outside, which is probably more similar to what you're dealing with a campus environment. And then our Riverside Cafe, we're piloting a lot of projects there, but we basically control that environment. So we had a very high diversion rate because almost everything is compostable. And then when you look at the weights too, it was interesting to see that the expo hall, these are the percentage weights. So once again, the kitchen was a lot. I feel like I'm picking on the kitchen a little bit, but I think it's because I think they must have done like 2 days of food prep, and we collected all of theirs for the day, where other places were just an hour. We're done during like that time period. But they gave us everything. So it's a little bit weighted towards the kitchen. But then, and once again, the cafe was a lot. The
Linda,
contaminant.
we do have a question, if you don't mind. Lynn from Compost Now is asking, do you compost any of the cardboard?
No, we do not, because it's in the exhibit hall, that's during move in, move out. So composting is in 2 areas. It's in the kitchen, and then it's for attendees in the bins. And we have a really good cardboard collection process, and we work with St. Charles Recycling to take the cardboard. So no, we don't. Now we are going to try and we may be doing a pilot at Christmas Fest for composting, and we have a lot of pizza boxes there. And in that case, it's an attendee cardboard that has food waste on it. So we can then put those into the composting bins. Let me just do a check-in. I have like a couple other technical slides, but is this making sense so far? Or does anybody else have questions on what we did?
I think all is good so far, Linda. Thank you.
And I can actually see the chat. I'm getting more experienced at Zoom by the minute. So then our contamination, I'm just going to go here on the left. We did have a lot of contamination in the trash. That was things that could have been composted or recycled better. Some of our recycling had quite a bit of contamination, but our composting, partly because it was the kitchen, but also it seemed like people were more conscientious about the composting. And once again, this was a one-time, one-day event, but it was very instructive that we're going to be able to use some of this going forward. And I'm going to get into a little more detail. The cups, the paper cups, Daniel, who was there, is asking about the paper cups. The paper cups, you know what, I still don't know, Daniel, if they were all compostable. There had been a request to the exhibitors in this event that everything be compostable. So most paper cups are compostable. Ours that we purchased are compostable, but I don't know necessarily if the exhibitors were. And that's definitely an issue that we have. Yeah, waxy films affects recycling. All right, so I'm going to keep going.
So Linda, before you change slides, there is a question about the recycling contamination rate at 85%. Can you speak a little bit about that?
I'm going to show you all right here, because this is what we saw. And so this gets into like the actual data, and try not to overwhelm you without too much data, but this was really the purpose of the audit. So just to show you in a good example, in the Riverside Cafe, these are the 3 different bins that we have and the 3 different bags. So trash, anything gray here is true trash, and it was contaminated, which is an opportunity, with some organics. So we didn't do recycling in the Riverside Cafe. And the organics, what was the composting bags, was 99% compostable. So we had a 1% contamination rate. It was really awesome. We did then later find out that the plates we're using they have PFAs in them, which is an issue right now we're addressing with the compostable plates. So we realized that those were not compostable. So we're just kind of giving that a minute till we run through our supplies and also wait for the market to settle and supply chain to really revisit what some of the servingware is going to be. But we can always address that with signage and sorting. So the exhibit hall, this is where the recycling rate was really high. And actually that, I think we didn't get recycling across a lot of the different areas of the building. So this is why this recycling number was heavily weighted to the exhibit hall. The exhibit hall, and I don't have a picture of the event, sorry. There was a lot of stuff being eaten and drinking in the exhibit hall. And it's one of the realizations we have, and we're discussing this internally tomorrow. When we have food and drink events, then we get a lot of contamination because it's very confusing. Even this event, which was very geared towards composting, there was like 20 different kinds of cups and containers, and people were drinking coffee. And so what we had was people mostly were putting stuff in the trash. You can see here the weights. There was some recycling, and then there was some composting. In the trash, it was mostly trash, but we had some compostables in there. In the recycling, though, we had a lot of trash, and it's because these little cups on the left here look recyclable, but if they're not number 1 or number 2, then they're trash. So I think this is probably an issue that you have. I call it like a closed versus open environment. Normally our exhibit halls will be a fairly closed environment where we're just serving food. This was a very open environment. So a lot of stuff was coming in from the vendors. So we do realize what we're going to do. And also we had not very much true trash. It was mostly, okay, organics was also really good. I think it's because people were looking and seeing if it was compostable before they put it in. What we're doing as a conclusion from this is a couple things, and this we're going to have SIG actually give us recommendations internally tomorrow. We are going to do better communications to the vendors, but also we're only going to put like even though composting was good, we're only going to do the three bin system in the food areas where we control really what's going to be used in that area. So this is kind of what we're concluding and what we're acting on from the audit. So anybody have any questions or thoughts on that? Definitely questions. I can see the chat. And Daniel says, when in doubt, trash it out. Okay. All right. So we're going to get into more fun stuff here. This is our recommendations, though, from the audit, that the bag color coding is an industry standard. We love the bag color coding system. And I'm going to go into more detail on like our policies. I'm going to definitely make sure that I make a hard stop around 1040 or 1045, Susan. And then I can continue going if we don't have a lot of questions. The signage is important. We are working on signage like crazy right now. And then the facility and staff being willing to sort through the trash was really a great sign. And I'm hoping we can do an annual sorting event. And this is something that you all should consider doing. And you can use the same layout. You could hire SIG, but it was something that really engaged people. These are other recommendations. These are kind of like, I think this was room for improvement, that we had too many different kinds of stuff and servingware, and it kind of comes down to 3 different areas. So purchasing would be what we purchase in the building. So everything should be compostable, but also recyclable drink vessels. That's something we're going to think about, but we do like the fact that everything's compostable and nothing's plastic. So even if it ends up in the garbage, it does biodegrade. For exhibitors, we may need to start restricting what they're doing, or at least communicating. And attendees do bring in, styrofoam, and we're phasing out plastic straws. So a lot of things still come in from the outside, but that's more in the lobby areas. And we also are recycling in the pedestrian part. So we haven't started yet. I'm not sure what we're going to get out there. We also are limited what we can recycle to number 1 and number 2 plastics, and also glassware at this time cannot be recycled. And we do not have a system yet for doing that. And then training is also something we can do more of. And we did an internal training, like an online training last year. We're doing engagement. We have more bins, more signage, but that is something that I'm hoping to work on more next year. So that was just on the audit. So any questions on the audit?
I think you're fine, Linda.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat a little bit. Yes, I see Lynn talking about PFAs. Yes, PFAs is something to know about. And if anybody had questions about anything that I'm getting technical on, please do ask. I'm happy to talk about it. Here we have as a school. So then I have a question about the cost issue. Yeah, so we have a really good F&B food and beverage partner, Centerplate. They've been, I think we had a celebration for 10 years with the contract. They are part of Sodexo. So their purchasing is, and Centerplate might be different than Sodexo, but it's through their big purchasing programs. And actually they use Schneider paper, but I don't know if that's just paper products or everything. They switched over to compostable servingware recently, and it's really it's going to make a huge difference because I think it's on some of my signs coming up. They have like a little hole in the handle, so you can easily see that it's a different thing than you would normally see. But that makes a really big difference in doing a compostable program. And it's definitely probably is more expensive. Most of what they do, I think some things have not been more expensive, but I don't really get involved in that side of it. Going to PFA free will be more expensive at this time. So that's why we're holding off on that, because it's like there's a shortage of PLA as an alternative. There's a huge amount of backlog of PFA. So we're just kind of not really addressing the cost issue until we really feel like that market, and especially the supply chain market, has caught up. But at this point, like plates, you can sort, we love if you can throw a whole plate in the composting bin, but you can also sort it out and you can do signage. So that would be what we really need for the programs to work.
So Linda, another question you have is the composting. Where does it go? How is it processed? Is that the partnership y'all have with Smelly's?
Yeah. So it goes to Schmelly's, and they have, like for the kitchen, they have 5 bins they pick up 3 times a week. And then for events, we call in bins as needed. So for the coffee event, we had a lot of compost. And so he brought in a whole container, and that's what you can do. He does that a lot for events like French Quarter Fest. He'll bring in his own container.
And then that's an area that is that's local to the Metro New Orleans area. So the question is coming from the Lafayette area.
So I thought Lafayette was trying to do a pilot there, either the city or the university. That's something I don't know that much about. I just saw photos today of composting going on in Hammond at Southeastern Louisiana University. But we do, I don't know if there's other vendors in the city, but we do have Schmelly's and we have composting networks. So we actually have 2 composting companies in New Orleans, which is really amazing. So you have to have that first before you can do composting.
So Linda, this is Susan Still. Can you comment on the Centerplate and Sodexo? Are they available on a smaller scale, like a small school or a municipality, or are they just for like universities and convention centers and larger groups?
I think that would be something like, I know that Tulane uses Sodexo. And I think UNO uses Sodexo for O&M. I don't know if they use them for food. I think they're good. I think they're in a lot of smaller facilities, but that would be something that is out of my range of knowledge. I was going to say, anybody from a school, please answer if you're using Sodexo. And I don't know if they have the same sustainability options as Centerplate does, because Centerplate is very much focused on events. And ours is focused internally to the convention center and those catering contracts. But I know, yeah.
So we're hearing from the universities are all using that. I was just wondering if that's transferable to the municipal and parish level as well.
Yeah. Okay. I think definitely, it looks like there's several universities that were using them. Yes. Okay. But it is a key part of what we're doing. And we're basically adapting our whole waste process to what they can purchase up front, but they've also just been really good partners on this. Okay, any other questions on the audit? I'm just looking at the chat.
There is another question that's asked about COVID. So were there COVID precautions with a concern when sorting the materials?
You know, we just started the coffee event. Was like our first big event in a long time. And it was right after the hurricane. So it was pretty amazing that you can see me. I think I have bags under my eyes in this picture, but we weren't doing a lot of sorting because we just didn't have a lot of recycling until then. But this is still definitely a COVID time. They wear masks, they wear gloves. and it's a couple guys and they're outside and they've definitely, you know, they should be washing, they should be not touching the stuff anyway for a lot of other, you know, a lot of other hygiene reasons. So it has not been an issue. Now they did, like Centerplate did go to more takeout stuff for a while because of COVID. That's something that they're going back to using China. About 30% of our food service is China, so they're going back to that. And but they also wash those dishes. And then glass half full, yes, I've talked to them, and they we can't take it to them, and we have to sign up for them to pick it up from us, and we're on the wait list for that. So we shall see. And we also work with Waste Pro, and they do not have a glass vendor at this point. I'm kind of covering the rest of my talk already because you know, I want to get really trashy now on like what we talked about at the very beginning, what our systems are. I think would be interesting. This is what Susan gave me this whole list. I was like, it's actually kind of a good list, Susan, for what to talk about. So I'm going to go, let's see where we are. We're at 10:40. I'm just going to go through this part real quick. I also, you had questions about kind of doing do-it-yourself waste audits. I can certainly share the slides after because we have photos of what we've done. But just want to talk about purchasing. I've had an epiphany this year, a purchasing epiphany. Purchasing is so important. So what our F&B does, but also we purchase like recycled products, things like this in the building. We purchase green cleaning products. We have green pest control management. And that actually, because we're doing that, that's why we can get the LEED certification. Our vendors, and this I know for New Orleans, this will probably be really interesting. We do everything through Waste Pro for the shipping, but our recycling is CW Recycling, and that's bottom right. We visited them. They're near Harahan off the river, near the bridge. They're in Jefferson, I guess. And they've been great. Like they let us go out there and check out what they're doing. They sort, so recycling sorts. So they have a sorting system to get paper cans and bottles separated, but it was so good to see in person. We also visited Schmelly's Dirt Farm. And also this top picture is Scott from CW Recycling came and looked at what our bins and labels were like and what our waste streams were going to be like, our recycling waste streams. For pallets, we use affordable pallets and that's Waste Pro has the direct contract. Cardboard is St. Charles Recycling. Our scrap, I think we have a direct contract, but Waste Pro just delivers it. EMR, we love that. We recycle wires and metal and refrigerators. Composting is Schmelly's, and partnering has been key. So if anybody, I'll just see the chat if anybody has questions about that. I have questions. Is New Orleans household recycling up again? No, we do not have recycling. You can drop it off. Hopefully it's going to be in 2022. Volunteers by the bins. Yes, if you, Jennifer Carlton, would like to come volunteer to stand by our bins, please do. For very green events, and Greenbill did this, for example, they can have volunteers. And I'm finding if an event really wants to do a great job and have additional recycling and composting, having those volunteers is great, but also having a really big sign or some communications in advance is good. Schmelly's, their facility is uptown New Orleans off Carrollton right now. So it gets to be a transport issue, like how far will they travel? They're building a facility in New Orleans East or Chalmette, I think. And then Composting Network is in New Orleans East, but we did work with them also, and they were able to come to the convention center. So really anything in the region, well, they'll probably serve. They may charge you. I don't think they charge you more if it's a longer drive, because that ends up being their time. Composting locations, you can do drop off of composting with Compost Now. New Orleans Green Pest Management, whoever that is, can you, I'm going to put my email in here. So, and whatever you want to do afterwards, Susan, to communicate, it's good. We can send the link to our press release and the waste audit, for example. But someone asked me about green pest control, and I'd have to email that back to you, Josie. Volunteers. Products made from recycled product. Okay. So this was Lynn. So we're doing LEED purchasing policies and tracking. So we're using this as part of a larger system, but you look at your top 5 items we purchase by volume, and it all has to have a certain percentage recycled content. So we are doing this, but we're doing it for the biggest items that we purchase, and really it's cleaning products. So we're doing it, our paper towels are already mostly recycled products. And I don't know if you say about, I don't know what cups, if they're recycled content or not, but I'd have to look in them to see. They may be already recycled content. Okay, any more questions? Let's see. Did anyone have an integrated pest management program? Yeah. So we do, we have a pest contract. I don't know if it's an integrated pest control. I think it probably is, because it's a green policy. It's a green certification on our pest management. Okay. So we're going from trash to pests.
Yes, let's.
I gotcha. Okay. So I'm going to keep going on this, but I think that came up under purchasing because that's important. We have a waste policy. It's a whole plan. It looks like this, but it basically everything fits into this. It's like 3 pages. But so we do have like a policy to do regular audits, to have, you know, just to acknowledge that we have to have contracts in place. You have to have bins. Somebody asked me the other day, what do you actually need to have a composting program? And the first one is bins, which we're actually having a hard time getting more bins right now. And then the second is to have a contract, to have somebody that will take your compost or recycling. So this is kind of acknowledging all that, putting it all in one place. And I kind of update this once a year. Now we're getting really trashy, but if you all didn't see anything else on this slideshow except this is what you need to see. This is, so how many people, if you all can tell me how many people are doing diversion tracking or diversion rates at your facility? Because this is where really the rubber meets the road. This is just a screenshot. It's a spreadsheet. We took every single waste stream that we had and the invoices for a year with the weights and the costs. And so like Waste Pro, we did landfill. We were doing Republic Services in 2019. This was cardboard, pallets, compost, metal. We did our total weights by month. And then we did the cost. And then I came up with the cost per ton. I think what's kind of interesting is that pallets were by far the cheap. We still have to pay to have them recycled, but they were by far the cheapest. Cardboard was next. Metal, we made money. And then landfill and recycling, I think these numbers are a little bit off, but recycling wasn't that much more expensive because it didn't weigh that much. And also we fill the containers, so there's lower shipping fees. So this kind of thing, if you haven't done it yet, get a year's worth of data. And this is, we're in 2019 with this because that was our last typical year, but we're about to start doing this again for 2022. And it's really to be able to have that snapshot. So then you can grow your programs and understand what the costs are going to be and your potential, and you can set goals. So this is really like kind of the third key thing you need to have in doing a good diversion program. Okay, yes. So Virginia says they did in 2019. What about toilet paper? I don't know if I think we use recycled toilet paper, but I don't know what percentage. Okay.
I'll go ahead and monitor the chat, Linda.
Okay.
That
All
helps.
Right. Yeah. So just tell me if there's anything that's I need to.
Sure.
Okay. So this is our 3 bag system too, just so you see that we have 3 different colored bags. And then what we're doing is the tilt carts. And I think this may apply towards universities and schools, but everything has to be collected and taken somewhere. So we do put the landfill bags in one container and it goes straight to a compactor. And actually in this case, food and beverage staff take it. Then you can see back here, this is blue and green bags. And that then goes to our sorting area, and that's taken by our facility staff. So we've had to develop like who does what, where does it go? It's really not complicated, but sometimes we have new staff every day for big events. So it's something that we have to maintain that system. We also have bins and labels. These are our new bins. We've gone to images only. And actually it's working pretty well on the recycling side. Now that we're tackling like the harder stuff, recycling is seeming a lot easier. This is our new, very large bins we're trying out. We are actually modeling them on the Seattle Convention Center, what their signage is, which is to have lots of signage and lots of instructions. People don't always see them, however, and we actually we just had the workboat show and a guy walked up to the bins and we were watching him. He had something completely compostable. He was looking at the bins, finally he just dumped it in the garbage. And he saw us and we're like, So yes, we were watching you. Why did you put it in that bin? He's like, well, there was no signs. And then he looked up and he saw the signs. So we're looking at making sure people see the signs, but also different events seem to have different personalities. So we are going to have AGU, the American Geophysical Union, next, and they're very interested and committed to sustainability. So they may read the signs better. We're also going to do this composting pilot at volleyball because we figure young people can read and see better. So maybe they will be better at, they're more dexterous. They're better at getting things into the right container. Maybe basketball will be the best. And so we're trying out, what different events were more successful at this. And then that's what we'll consider maybe doing going forward. Got to speak for bins in a minute. We have these blue bins on the bottom. We ordered 60 of them to do our exhibit hall area. The bottoms came in, the tops are not coming till April. So we have a partial recycling program. And then we were trying to get matching composting and landfill bins. We do like having a flap in the front, restricted. We're going to put a big label on the front. The composting ones didn't have a green top. So now we're going back to black, gray, and blue. We have 5 sets that are coming. Before the end of the year, we're going to try them out to do exhibit hall piloting, pilot composting. And then if they work, we are going to buy more. However, these bins, we didn't realize it, but they wobble because the bottoms are made for casters. So we have to cut the bottoms off. I would love to know if anybody else has figured out a really good option for bins, but this is what we're borrowing this from what Denver does. And they've been doing this for years with the 3-bin system, and they found these to be the best bins they can get, but theirs didn't wobble for some reason and ours do. Communications, we do have the waste audit report. We have a few little edits on it. So Susan, if you wanted to send something out to the group next week, we'd have this report updated. But we did a press release on the waste audit. We do internal communications. We have a sustainability website, flyers. And then just so if y'all are not familiar with the contamination issue, it basically is what's ending up in your composting or recycling system that's not correct for that vendor. So we have a lot of Starbucks in the building, and Starbucks, I'm from Seattle, love my Starbucks. Their cups are not recyclable or compostable. So if those end up, they're very easy to sort out. But this was contamination. We had our composting done. Someone came by and put a bag of garbage in it. And then on the right here, this was mostly compostable, but somebody very nicely put their little plastic crouton bags back into their box before putting it in the compost. I know in Seattle, they say they have those takeaway boxes. Everything's compostable, but people put like their Coke can back in the box and they put it away. People are trying to help, but they still have to be opened up and sorted out. So we do sorting, and I know not everybody has the staff to do this, but we are such a huge facility that with such a large waste stream that we can have the staff to do this. We have this fellow Anthony on the right is our main sorting guy. He's really awesome at it. This was the system. We just had green for compost, red for landfill, blue for recycling. This is for this coffee event, but on a regular basis, they are doing recycling, and then we just add in compost as needed. And it's been actually going really well. So any question here? What is the biggest source of contamination? Let's see. Susan, you want to tell me? The biggest source, oh, coffee cups. Plastic bag.
Coffee.
People's inability to put things in the right can. Okay. Food. I think Juan has it. So the biggest is people. So, and this is actually for, attendee recycling for, in the back of house, it could be contractors, it could be the cleaning crews, putting cardboard in the wrong bin, but it really is. And this is Anthony actually, who is the sorting guy. So he's putting the empty plastic Coke container in the recycling bin. So he is not creating contamination. Yeah, but everything else, plastic bags is bad, food in the recycling. Yes, those are all contamination. And some of those are hard to get out, like food, you almost have to throw it out. But the problem we're having right now for doing pilots in the front of house is the people dealing with it, putting things in. So this is what we're trying now. We're going to do another sign that's wider and shorter and has like arrows pointing down. if we could have volunteers, it would be great, but we also eventually will, we can do a fun communication, we can play a video. We're working on making this better, but right now we're just piloting everything. It's been a good partnership with facilities and food and beverage. So this is, we have a little bit longer. It's 10:54. I'm just going to show photos. This is what we did. We did our own mini waste audits. We did a no liquids audit. We did Visqueen. On the right is what it's supposed to look like. On the left is how ours looked. But we're trying Visqueen. We're getting better at it. We just look in bins. I will sometimes go around with a clipboard and write what percentage I'm seeing in containers. And this one, we have a lot of pallets and cardboard. And we also have staff who are doing this true waste training. Here is Delise Gallo, who passed the test. It's really hard. It's about certifying your building to be true waste. To be certified, you have to have a 90% diversion rate. We're not going to do that. But the training in and of itself was very useful because it does look at a system like bin right sizing, diversion rates, vendors, leadership and training. It was really good. So that's something we're doing in the building. And overall, we're taking small steps, like literally digging through our trash to meet these much bigger goals.
So Linda, we do have one question, and that I think this is going to pretty much be all that we have time for, because I would like to share with the group a waste audit guide that we've come up with and is available to everyone. But the question is, how did you get the custodial staff to buy in? And I'd like to take that even broader for those of y'all who are with municipalities or businesses or rec centers or universities. How do you get others to buy into the idea of sorting and sending waste where it belongs, and the importance of doing a waste audit?
Yeah, that's good. So, and those are two different things. So sorting is having staff that are designated to doing that. And actually, because they've been doing it so long, they're really good at it. And we do, though, for big events, we bring in contract staff to do that. So, because sometimes I need to have like a team of 4 or 5 people if there's a lot going on. That only happens for big events that are very green. But the whole idea of how it gets where it's going, that has been trial and error. We're calling it muscle memory. So with recycling, for example, we are going to start doing that on a really consistent basis in the exhibit halls. And once we start doing it, we expect it to be something we do every single time. And it's just part of our process. The front of house, we have staff and they're just simply trained to go to the 2 different bins. We're recycling and we have trash in the lobbies, and they just know to do it. They've been trained to do it, and they've been doing it now for years. But trying to get like from the front of house in an area that's food and beverage that they manage, we did come up with the 3 bag system and the 2 tilt cart system, and that seems to be working really well. And it was just communications with our facilities team and the food and beverage team, and just trying it a few times and seeing what made sense. And it actually kind of, it's going in the back and it's going to somewhere, it's going to a container somewhere. It's just a matter of doing it a little bit differently. And we're also working with cleaning crews to let them sort of tell us how to do it best. Like we have a tilt cart that's just for cardboard and plastic, and they say they'll do that, but they're phased it's like 100,000 square feet. So how their staff, we're working with them. So it's a lot of communication and just sort of trial and error, but really just mainly being committed to it and then do it going forward.
Well, great. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. We're just about out of time. We appreciate you spending time with us today and going through y'all waste audit process and report. It's very impressive. I am sharing a screen with y'all right now that shows a waste audit guide that we have recently come up with. And this waste audit guide if you're interested in doing this, it takes you through all the different steps of what needs to be done and how to do one. And so this guide is for everyone to use free of charge. And the waste audit webinar that we have done today has been recorded, and it will also appear on our website. So both of those resources will be available to you, and the guide can be downloaded and shared and used. So we are now at the 11 o'clock mark. Thank you all for being with us today. I hope you found this information very useful and helpful. And until we meet again, take care and happy holidays. Thank you. And thank you, Linda.